It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Good day and welcome to the program. It is County-Wide. I'm Brad Miller, and we're happy to welcome into our studio today Yavapai County Assessor Pam Pearsall. Pam has been in that seat for a time here, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And we're going to talk about a number of issues today, especially the role that the assessor plays for citizens of Yavapai County. And there's a lot of different avenues there. I know we won't get to them all, but a few things we want to talk about, including the issue with the Yavapai County Fair and the cancellation there, and the assessor's role, or perhaps lack of role, in that. There's been some things kind of thrown around a little bit about the part that the county assessor's office may have played in the closure and ultimately the cancellation of the Yavapai County Fair. So we're going to visit on that just a little bit. First, though, Pam, I want to say good day and welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me on this. I really appreciate it, Brad.
I want to just kind of start for kind of the uninitiated. Well, what does the Yavapai County Assessor do?
Well, basically, there's 168,000 parcels in Yavapai County. So the assessor values all those properties at full cash value. And then we classify the properties. Are you residential, owner-occupied?
Right.
Is it a rental? Is it commercial? Is it agricultural? And the third thing we do is we keep track of who owns what.
Right.
We send that to the treasurer. They calculate your tax bills based on tax rates and our values. And the classification is very important, too.
When our property taxes go up or down, it's your office that we're going to be talking to, or?
Well, it depends. I've been predicting for a year that even though your values have declined, and most all values have declined in this market, that we may not see taxes go down.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because fire districts, sheriff department, schools, they need a budget to run their services. And unless they're able to cut their services or cut their budgets, even though our values have went down, they're still going to need the same amount of dollars to raise their budgets. And so we're watching what they set for their budgets. If their budgets don't go down, the quick answer is your taxes aren't going to go down. And certainly you can call to ask us we might have made a mistake.
Right.
But more than likely, it's because taxes just haven't went down because the services haven't cut their budgets.
Got to be a trying time to be a tax assessor in just about any county in America, I would think.
Well, and you call me the tax assessor, but I'm actually the property assessor because I'm assessing values on property. And then once the tax rates are set by what the budgets are for the taxing jurisdictions. But that's a very common. People always think, you did it, and I'm always like, not me, please, not me.
But a very important distinction to make, and kind of plays into what some of our topic, I think, here today will be. This is an elected office. How long have you been in office in Yavapai County?
About 2.5 years. It's a 4-year term, so I'll be reelected in 2012, January, I'll start again.
Makes it sound like you're going to run again.
I am.
Okay. Let's kind of get to this, and I'll be honest, Missy Garcia from your office called, and we chatted a little bit about this and agreed that Countywide would be a good forum to kind of present this issue. The cancellation of the Yavapai County Fair just a couple of weeks ago has the entire county abuzz. There's been a lot to that with the issues at the fairgrounds and the rodeo grounds and all of those kinds of things, but through it all, as frankly, there's been some finger pointing and some concerns, and there's a lot of smoke still kind of hovering over this as things begin to maybe settle and we can figure out just really what happened and perhaps start toward the course that'll clear it up and who knows what kind of rebound all of these issues will make the fair and so on and so forth. But the county assessor, your office has kind of gotten dragged into some of this as well. Tell me about that.
Well, and it's a long story, but I'm going to try to oversimplify it. Let's start back when Tony Martinez was the assessor. They used to have the fair on the Fair Street over in Prescott.
Right.
And because the racetrack, I guess, was too small, not safe for the horses, they decided to move, and they moved it to Prescott Valley.
Right.
Well, once they left county property and they were on private property, they no longer qualified for a property tax exemption. I told you I classify properties. Well, they weren't owned by county. So Tony Martinez told them, you don't qualify for a property tax exemption, you'll be classified commercial. That would be an enormous challenge for them to try to pay property taxes based on this kind of value of property out of commercial. So they came up with an idea and they thought, and I'm paraphrasing, what if we were a school? Tony Martinez said, if you're a school, you would qualify for property tax exemption.
Putting them back close to being on a par as to what they were on the county property.
Exactly. So they came up with an agricultural school, and they put it there. It was called Achieve Academy. And Tony Martinez gave them a partial exemption, like 90% exempt because you're 90% of school, 10% you're commercial because you're a racetrack.
Right.
That led to about a $30,000 a year property tax bill, and life went on. Victor Hambrick became the assessor. They were still Achieve Academy. He changed it a little bit, saying, well, this is driver's ed and this is that, but it still equaled about $30,000 a year property tax. Life goes on. I become the assessor, and Achieve Academy closes.
No more school.
No more school. Now, the big problem for me is, one, they were no more school, but back in the day that they decided to be a school, they actually titled the property into Achieve Academy's name. So it was not owned by the Fair Association. It was not owned by an agricultural society. It was owned by Achieve Academy, the majority of it.
Okay.
So it comes to me, and it's not a school. So I let them know in February, personally, we let them know it's not a school. What are we going to do? We have these title issues because if you're going to be considered something else, it would need to be in someone else's name. Finally, by August of 2010, we said, you don't qualify for an exemption. You're classified commercial. They weren't responding. They weren't fixing the title problems that we had. There was a lot more going on, but that's all we saw. There was a lot of problems, as now we know.
Right.
But that was one. And so we let them know by certified letter, your classification was changed. Well, it's a $20 million valued property. They spent $23 million to build it. Our value is $20 million. Value hadn't been appealed. Classification hadn't been appealed. Now they get a tax bill. No longer $30,000. It's like $340,000
right.
tax bill. Now we have their attention. Okay, so I kept telling them, I can't give you an exemption unless something changes. ARS 11108, which would have given them an exemption, starts out with land owned by an agricultural society.
Okay.
They weren't. It goes on to say more things, but that's right there stopped me. So I kept saying, if you file an appeal on value, I think the property is overvalued because it's where it's located, the market, horse racing, not being as popular. And eventually in May of 2011, August 2010, they were given the notice.
Right.
In May of 2011, they finally filed an appeal, and I was able to look at the value, and I reduced it to like $5.4 million, which eventually reduced our property tax liability to $90,000.
Okay.
But just to make things clear, if you don't pay your taxes the first year, nobody comes and takes your property. Second year, nobody does. Third year, that's when you finally could actually lose your property to property taxes. So even though we had all this problem, that was not what closed them. They had time to resolve these issues. It was the other things.
And your concern has been, there's been some criticism lobbied at your office and you personally as the office holder that, that mean Pam Pearsall is the cause of this. Now, let's be fair. The property owners are not at our table today. We've not talked to them, in preparation for the story. We would welcome their comment. So we are giving your perspective on how this happened.
Right.
You're saying that they didn't respond and all these things. We don't know. And I want to be very, very, very fair about that. So we're listening to Pam Pearsall's side of the story,
right.
If you will. And we gladly admit that and would happily talk to these folks because there's a lot of things that are happening. As we said at the beginning of the show, the smoke is still kind of rising over this issue and may continue to for some time as it gets all sorted out. But let's go back to what you said at the beginning of the program. The job of a county assessor, certainly in Yavapai County, is to identify these properties. And so when this changed, when the school went away, that's there's a legal ramification for you that it must be reclassified because the school element is no longer part of this property.
Right.
You didn't have a choice. You didn't do that because you wanted to.
Right. I did not have a legal option to follow. That was what I had to do.
Okay. So there's really kind of no choice in doing that, and that's kind of what started this snowball rolling until where it got to the point. The kind of criticism that's been levied at you, has that come through like official channels, or I mean, the supervisors, or where is that kind of coming from? And
well, I think
you're obviously concerned about it, so where's it coming from and why?
Well, I think there's certainly officials that wish that something else could have been done for the Yavapai Downs, which is a racetrack, because the fair takes place on that property, and we don't want to make them vulnerable to losing the fair, which it has jeopardized having a fair this year.
Right.
So I think that there's been concern. I don't know if there's really been criticism, but certainly there's been criticism. Some regular person might think, gee, look at the market. They're trying to get money any way they can. They have just taxed this person out of existence.
Right.
That's what I would think as a regular person. But, I mean, like you, I love to go to the fair. I took my grandchildren to the fair. I don't want to see the fair hurt. It had nothing to do with raising money. I don't get a commission by raising your taxes. I mean, there's just no reason for me to do it. It was just this legal. The school left. There was no avenue to give them an exemption.
This is how it had to happen by law.
Right.
Okay.
Now, they did try to pass a bill that would have given them some help if they would have fixed their title issues.
Right.
We still had the title issues. That was vetoed by the governor for other reasons. There was other things attached to that bill.
Okay. We need to take a break,
Okay.
so let's go ahead and do that, and the time will fly on us here. There's plenty more to talk about on this issue. Our guest today is Yavapai County Assessor Pam Pearsall. It's Countywide, and we're back right after this.
The best songs ever made. Oldies Radio KKLD.
I see the moon rising.
The greatest hits from the 60s and 70s. KKLD.
95.9 KKLD The Cloud, playing the music you sing along to.
Northern Arizona's KKLD, the songs you love.
Raising a child means working with partners, people you can rely on, for expertise, advice, and support. But when drugs or drinking enter the picture, who do you turn to? Well, there's help for that too. The partnership at drugfree.org. You're not alone.
Fire can happen at any time. What would you try to save?
My family photos.
My grandfather's war memorabilia.
My dogs.
I'm firefighter Brandon Wacker with the Cotton Fire Department. A working smoke detector is your best defense in the event of a fire. Make sure you have a smoke detector in every room except your kitchen. Test them monthly and change the battery once a year. Take the time to save the things you can't replace.
Sunny 100, your at-work radio station.
You're every word, you're everything.
With Malone in the morning, John Tesh in the evening, and the best variety of music all day long.
Waiting on the world to check.
Online at myradioplace.com.
And big girls don't cry.
Sunny 100, 100.1 FM.
Welcome back to the program. It is Countywide. Brad Miller with you, and our guest today is Pam Pearsall. Pam is the Yavapai County Assessor, and devoting a good piece of our program, certainly up to this point, to the entire issue with the Yavapai County, the Yavapai County Fair site at the rodeo grounds there in Prescott Valley, and some of the issues that have come up over that. I think you gave us a great explanation so far of the county assessor's take on what has all happened here in explaining this. But where are we now? What's in the works? What's happened? What, if any, kind of conversations have you had with property owners? Are we going to resolve this?
We're in a mess.
Okay.
So as my editorial that I sent you and you decided to do this show based on, creditors have come out. There's 114 creditors. There's $500,000 in debt. There's a USDA loan of, $14 million that has not had a payment made in 3 years. They do off-track betting, and so they've collected money like from Coconino County to do this parimutuel gambling, and then they're supposed to pay Coconino back their share. They didn't do that, so Coconino County is suing them for $40,000. So there's a lot of things going on. They have now filed bankruptcy, and that's the Yavapai Downs.
Right.
Now that they filed bankruptcy, there's a big problem because there's a track underneath where they race cars. They just shut them down, and they said they can't race cars because the road that's access for them, they couldn't afford insurance on, and they don't want an accident.
Okay.
So now this commercial property had to close down. And now the fair is thinking, okay, we are supposed to have a fair at the end of September, and you're in bankruptcy, so can we still have a fair on your property for 1 week?
Right.
And basically, Yavapai Downs said, well, we're not sure because we don't have insurance. We don't know if USDA is going to come repossess us. We don't know what's going to happen in September. So the fair has said, well, then we cannot make plans to have the fair here. Right. So the last report is Tim's Toyota Center, which is in Prescott Valley, has agreed to have a smaller version of the fair. They're still going to have the carnival, the displays, the crafts, the commercial things. So we're going to have a fair. It's called the Unfair.
Okay.
Because things were so unfair at the last minute to have to move it and everything.
Right.
So we're going to have a scaled down fair, is last I heard. And then next year, hopefully, we'll have a full-fledged fair again.
Okay, that's where we are on the fair. I want to get to your office's interest now on the property, and if there aren't any answers yet, because I know the whole thing really is in flux to a certain degree. But where are you now? I mean, is this property going to be auctioned? What's going to? Do you know what's going to happen?
Well, they're current on their property taxes, as far as I know. I'm not the treasurer.
Yeah.
But as far as our office, we still have a title issue because we still have property that's in Chief Academy's name, and we have property that's in the Fair Association's name. We have property that should be, hopefully, in Agricultural Society's name, and we have landlocked property if they don't get these resolved. We actually have spoken to them more times than I can count about what the title issues are, how to fix the legal descriptions, and what to do, but that hasn't happened, and I guess because they're so busy with everything else going,
sure,
this isn't the most important thing on the radar.
Right. And again, no representatives from Yavapai Downs obviously are on our program with us today. We would welcome their comment. We would welcome them to come in studio and chat, because it is convoluted and we want the best information available to get out there. Today we're hearing about the county assessor, and Pam Pearsall's office has taken some heat from this, and some of it might be very direct, some of it might be out of just confusion, because there is so much boiling under the surface of this issue. What kind of a clock is ticking then on this? Do we have certain time frames where certain things have to kind of happen? And I don't know if you can answer that given what you just said.
Right, I don't know. For the assessor's office, we will keep title in the name that it's in, right, but at Chief Academy no longer exists, right, but somebody paid their property tax. Same with the Agricultural Society, they no longer exist. Last I heard, they're in bankruptcy, but they've dissolved. But we'll just keep it in that, and they'll keep getting property tax notices. What my concern is there's a USDA loan that hasn't been paid for 3 years. If they come to repossess it, I cannot change the name from Agricultural Society to the USDA once they file paperwork, because according to my records, Chief Academy owns it. Okay. So then the heat will start again for me. And that'll just be, a rock and a hard spot where I'm standing.
Right. So there's plenty more of this tale to be told.
Right.
All right. A lot of folks working at this, and a lot of folks frustrated in the community at large, and certainly those directly involved. We'll take another short break. Our guest is Pamela Pearsall, Yavapai County Assessor. It's Countywide. We're back after this.
For America's best music.
KYBZ.
AM 1600.
You may not know where to turn when you're struggling with a drug or alcohol problem. It can be completely overwhelming. Even if you are not the one who's using. If you're a parent looking for help, look to the partnership at drugfree.org. you're not alone.
Having a fire escape plan is very important to keep your family safe and together in the event of a fire. When you awake to the sound of a smoke detector and smoke in your room, don't stand straight up. Carefully roll off your bed and stay low under the smoke. If your door is shut, feel the door with the back of your hand. Slowly open the door if no heat is felt. Always stay low until you get to the outside of your home. Always have 2 ways out of your house and a specified meeting place somewhere outside your home. Home escape plans should be drawn up and rehearsed on a regular basis. This could be the difference between life and death if caught in a fire.
Sunny 100, your at-work radio station.
You're every word, you're everything.
With Malone in the morning, John Tesh in the evening, and the best variety of music all day long.
Waiting on the world to change.
Online at myradioplace.com.
And big girls don't cry.
Sunny 100, 100.1 FM.
Welcome back to the program. Again, it's Countywide. We wrap up a very informative program today with Yavapai County Assessor Pam Pearsall. All right, I don't care about the fair. I don't care about the rodeo grounds. I don't care about any of that, but I live in Yavapai County and I'm a taxpayer. My only interest in this program and this whole thing is, Pam, am I going to get left holding the bag?
Well, as assessor, I'm not going to tell you that you're holding the bag, but let me tell you as a taxpayer, just as a regular person, yes, we have a $14 million loan from the USDA that I'm saying the property is worth $5.4 million. I'm saying that if the title isn't fixed, it's landlocked, so it's not even worth $5 million then. They resell it. Who's responsible for that USDA loan? Us. Yeah. So that's very unfortunate, and I just hope they fix the title, and I can't see them being able to sell that property for $14 million, though, not in this market.
Okay. And again, I think it's important that we stress you've given, a lot of how this played out, through your office. There's been a little opinion that's come out as well, and we welcome that. But it just seems that the kind of the important thing here, and certainly the illustration that I wanted to make is from what I'm getting from you, that you were following the law. The county assessor, especially folks that are concerned, well, the county assessor did this and changed, that when Achieve Academy closed, and people maybe understand it, maybe don't. But basically your hands were tied in the sense that you've got to kind of do what you were elected to do, and that's follow the law and assess these properties as most
right, because I represent the people, and there can't be backdoor deals and winking. You want an assessor that stands up and follows the law. And if we don't like the law, we can change the law.
Right. Okay. All right. Pam, we thank you very much. There's certainly more to get to on this on this issue. We're not going to be able to cover it all in one program. Again, we would be happy to talk with some folks from Yavapai Downs. We've not done that. We would do that on this format, in this program, and we'd be happy to kind of continue along with that. We'll have to have you back one of these times here before too terribly long, and we'll talk about the rest of what you do.
Primary occupancy and how that might save you money. We'll talk about that next time.
Primary occupancy, this is
it's a new in the jobs bill and a form that you need to fill out to make sure that you qualify. But we'll talk about that next time.
I was going to say, I don't even know what you're talking
Okay.
about there. This is for homeowner, single family homes? Mm-hmm. Okay, something new.
Yeah.
That's what we need to get to.
So that's my tease to have you on the show again.
There you go. Throw it out there. We'll do that. Plenty to discuss. If you have questions for our county assessor, the folks in her office, the number is 928-771-3220, and online at co.yavapai.az.us. You'll find the departments under that heading, and you can find the county assessor from there. We thank you very much. Pam Pearsall, our guest today, Yavapai County Assessor, and it's Countywide. We'll see you next time.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.